This second installment into the Mexiverse from Drinkbox Games features some amazingly visually vivid levels, 4-player co-op, new wrestling moves, sassy new bosses, twice the enemies, and apparently quite a bit more foul creatures than the previous one. Unfortunately, I never played the first, so I can't do a blow-by-blow comparison of the two games, but what I can say from having played this installment is that I've enjoyed it quite a bit thus far. Guacamelee 2 is a Metroidvania-style adventure in which the story begins with Luchador Juan being called out of retirement, where he must travel across dimensions to face a new enemy that threatens potential destruction of the entire Mexiverse. Ue Chivo, an old man who can turn into a goat, shows up Gandalf style and calls you back into action, pulling you across different dimensions and even beyond death itself. From there you start your perilous adventure, punching, kicking, and throwing your enemies around the screen like any badass luchador should. At times, even shifting back and forth between the two dimensions to combat enemies in both in order to clear out an area. In this new dimension Juan has traveled to, he was defeated and another rose up in his place to defeat the big bad from the first game. But the mask the new hero wears is the Mask of Vengeance, and it has caused a sickness that is killing Salvador, and now he has gathered some henchmen in the seeking 3 magical artifacts that, when assembled, could well lead to the end of the Mexiverse. It's up to you, as the last remaining Juan in all the dimensions, to prevent Salvador from dooming everything into oblivion. It's been 7 years of peace since your last battles though, so you're gonna have to go off in search of the Sacred Mask and get back into shape if you have any hope of defeating Salvador and his henchmen. You'll find various characters along your journey that you can spend coin on to train you in a variety of different upgrades and fighting moves. Some give you power-ups or additional options in combat, others grant abilities which will allow you to access new areas previously blocked off to you. You'll even gain the ability to transform into a chicken along the way, and learn new chicken-centric fighting moves as well. Yep, you read that right. Not only are you a badass luchador, but you can also turn into a chicken with a penchant for Aztecas, and the skills to back it up. Starting out, you'll get to pick from a few different characters to play as, with additional options that unlock later in the game, so you can mix it up and play as Juan, Tostada, or even Old Man Ue Chivo. It all makes for a game that at times will crack you up laughing, and others make you scream in frustration, ready to suplex your screen because of the tough series of jumps or combat, or both at the same time. But I will say the one thing I really appreciated about the game in this regard was that even though at times it felt obscenely challenging, it was not overly punishing for failure. I truly loved how it would put you back at the last place you stood on solid ground, if you missed a jump, or a series of them, and died as a result. It doesn't super kick you all the way back to the beginning of a level and force you to start all over. This allows you to plancha right back into the ring and try over and over again, and then a few more times at some points, till you get it right, and that really helps to mitigate the sense of frustration you can get when you've done something 2 or 8 times and you miss it by just a hair and have to try yet again. Even if you die due to a lack of health instead of an insta-kill from a trap, the checkpoints that are in the game are pretty plentiful. I've had a great time playing this both on my own and a little with TJ, my co-host for the Comic Shop Talk on our show. I will say 2 things about gameplay and added difficulty that will do you no favors, however. First is if you play on PC, don't bother trying to play this with a keyboard. Make sure you're using a controller or the frustration can quickly surpass the fun of playing it. The other is co-op. If you're going to play this with some friends, I'd suggest each of you get some time playing and practicing before trying to play together. In many of the levels you need to time the jumps just right, and in some cases shift between dimensions mid-jump. If the other players don't know the controls as well, it may not be a very fun experience overall. That said, the combat is an awesome tag team matchup for you and your homies to brawl with the enemies. We break down our ratings into 5 categories, and rate the game on a 1 to 10 scale with 5 serving as average, and then average those scores to a final overall rating. For design, I gave this a 10. Everything about the art design, especially the vibrant colors and lighting, the music of this game really fits well together. Plus, it was a refreshing change of scenery for me to play something a little bit of a different cultural mythos than your typical Western European fantasy or sci-fi stuff. For challenge, I also gave it a 10. While at times it's a run-of-the-mill Metroidvania, run, jump, dodge, attack, It quickly mixes in plenty of places that could have you ninja gripping your controller in frustration, ready to ninja star it right out the window, due to failing to get through a series of jumps and dodges. This difficulty can quickly escalate even further in co-op, due to how some of the levels are designed and the coordination you'll need with your compadres to surpass them. For fun, I gave it an 8. The sense of humor, the absolute beautiful environments, and gameplay will all blend really well to create a truly fun experience, whether you're playing by yourself or cooperatively. At times, the difficulty can detract from the overall enjoyment of the game, however that only tends to add to the sense of accomplishment you get once you've successfully passed a particular challenge. For longevity and replay, I give it a 7. There are some places out of the way that I found to explore, and probably some I've missed, but it's just how much fun the game is to play that draws you back in. That, and if you have any interest in speedrunning or practicing at getting better at this type of gameplay, there's plenty of opportunities for that. For price, I gave it a 10. At $19.99, $15.99 for PS Plus members, this game is more than just fairly priced for the amount of time you'll get playing it. Almost 5 hours in, I had only scratched the surface at about 13% of the world unlocked, and I hadn't even tried multiplayer at that point yet. I've seen the developers say the gameplay will last around 10 hours, but I can certainly see myself taking longer to complete the game. So that brings us to our overall score of a 9.0, desirable. I think this may be the highest I've rated a game thus far. Between the beautiful set design, artwork, the great musical soundtrack that fits perfectly with the game, and a wonderfully frustrating difficulty that, while certainly tough in some areas, doesn't punish you overly much for failure. This has been a fun ride so far, and I'm looking forward to diving into it some more. For this and other reviews, make sure to check out our website, bammsters.com. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, please make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. If there's a game you'd like us to take a look at, let us know in the comments.